Hello there, friends, and welcome back to the channel. It's really been a hot second, I know. It's been like a week for y'all, but it always feels like centuries whenever I just don't film. I would say for a few days, it's like centuries. And it's like, you've done this for quite some time, like enough time to be able to get back on the bike. But every time it happens, I'm like, how do I do this again? Comment down below if you understand, which I'm sure y'all do. But in today's video, I am back memory planning for the week of Labor Day, which I believe was September 4th. Was it September 4th? I think it is September 4th, which is Beyonce's birthday. So this is really Beyonce's birthday week spread, let's be honest. Although clearly I did nothing related to a birthday, nothing related to Beyonce, but there's that. But this was, oh man, y'all, this was one of the most stressful and a bit traumatic weeks I've had maybe ever. A lot was happening this week, and there will be story time. So get your popcorn, get your snack, get your beverage, and let's get into it. So first of all, let's start with what I'm using. I'm using I think it's called Stormy Days. Was it the August mystery from Caress Press? It was one of the mysteries. I can't remember the month. I think it's August, and I think it's called Stormy Days. But many of us were just enamored with this kit because it's stunning. It's stunning. I think the detail is absolutely beautiful. I love the colors of it, and it was kind of nice. Like, we've seen rainy day kits before, but I feel like this was a little different in that it was like, I guess the elements that were in it, like the phone with the radar, I feel like was a new thing. And like the lightning in the windows was just so beautifully drawn. Shout out to Sadie Piper Designs. I just love it. Like, that's it. And then Alicia Craft released these lightning underlays, and I was like, bro, I don't care how long these take to get to me. I'm doing it. And I was going to use this in August and ended up pushing it back so that I'd have time to get those lightning underlays. At first I was like, just use like the rainy day foil bundle, which I did use parts of in this spread. So you guys will see that shortly once I start putting down the bottom washi and stuff. But I was like, no, it needs to have these lightning underlays, and I need to wait because it's going to be iconic. And I'm here to tell you it is indeed iconic. I am so in love with this spread, and I'm so glad because I feel like when I decided to push it back, like, I was good with that, and then I started seeing like more like fall and Halloween stuff pop up, and I knew, like, obviously I'm back planning, so I'm behind. But I knew that like people would start posting their like fall and Halloween spreads, which is already happening now, and I'm having extreme FOMO. But don't worry, we are getting there after this spread. Next week's spread, well, the next few weeks in September are Halloween leaning, although I feel like they're not full-blown Halloween. Full-blown Halloween, we still got like a few weeks left, but I feel like we have some Halloween leaning spreads coming up, which is exciting for your girl, because y'all know spooky time is my time to shine. But alas, I used Alicia Craft's lightning underlays in silver, and I used the silver rainy day foil bundle from Caress Press that she released with this mystery. I picked that up, and I just love it. I love how this turned out. It was so appropriate for this week. That's the other reason that I ended up pushing it back, not just because of the lightning underlays, but it was very appropriate for this week, which I will talk about in a few. But yes, it was a super stressful week. This was the first week of classes, so that's always just, especially for fall, that's always stressful. That will never not be a stressful time, I think, for anyone in education, basically. So it was definitely busy and hectic. We do like walk-ins or drop-ins, so it's basically like come one, come all. And you never know what's going to come into your office on any given day. So definitely keeps you on your toes, but also for a planner type like myself, not the best environment to thrive in. So definitely not my favorite time of the year. So there was that. There was also things going on with where I live with the HOA, which I'll talk a little bit more about. And then the whole storm, which was insane. Insane. So we're going to talk about all of that. There's a lot going on this week I'm planning for, so I feel like I can actually talk about this week versus just talking about a random topic because my weeks are boring. So at least there's that, right? Right? Yes. Okay. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So this was the week that the neighbors that we don't like actually had their closing and eventually moved out, which we'll get into. But you might be thinking, well, Anna, why was that stressful for you? Because you don't like them and they're leaving. This should be your prime time. You should be throwing a party. You should be so happy. Well, let me tell you. So there's this thing apparently in Mass, if you're going to sell your condo, that you need to get a signature from one of the other owners of that condo complex, stating that the financial financial documents are basically your ducks are in a row financially. The association doesn't owe anyone anything, etc., etc. Basically, one of the owners needs to sign that for the owner that's selling in order for it to sell. It will not sell without that signature. Y'all catch my drift? You see where I'm going? So, I did not know this until the Tuesday of this week. Mind you, the closing for this place was on the Friday of this week, and I found out about this on the Tuesday of this week. I'm like, okay, well, there's some issues here because I don't know if there has been financial accountability, so I cannot sign this thing until there's some proof around that, which has been very difficult to find. Mind you, I've been trying to find said proof of that for months prior to this. Months. Just for the sake of living there, not even for the sake of this. Because again, I didn't know that they would need this form signed. Great. So, Tuesday comes along. I get a message not from the owner that's selling because, quote unquote, we don't get along. Not true. I've done absolutely nothing to this woman. Literally absolutely nothing. But okay. She's upset because I called her on her shit. And that, I feel like telling you the truth about what's happening in a very polite, diplomatic way is not us not getting along, quote unquote. That's me telling you about your lack of accountability and why it's a problem. We're two adults. I figure we can have a real conversation. At least that's how I try to approach life. Because who has time for the games? Who has time for that? So, alas, that has translated to we don't get along very well. So, I got a text message from the realtor who I happen to know anyway. And she was like, hi, we need this form signed. And said owner has asked me to ask you because y'all don't get along. What, bro? I'm like, okay. So, I'm thinking, first I tell her about the issue of accountability. And I'm like, well, I've been trying to get this paperwork for X amount of time, haven't gotten it. She's like, try one more time, let me know, if you have any issues, which again, not really my responsibility to do that. But you know what? Fine. I will do it. Of course, miraculously, said paperwork that I've been waiting for months now appears. Great. So I let her know, yeah, we're good. I'll sign. So I'm thinking, in the age of 2023, that this is like a DocuSign, like an electronic signature. Basically, they email you the document, you sign electronically, good, done, bye. I'm like, great, I'll have this done and I don't have to worry about this. Oh, no. No. I'm like, oh, so is this like an electronic copy I can sign and send back to you? She's like, no, you need to sign it in person and it needs to be notarized. I'm sorry. What? You have approached me days before your closing for a document that you cannot close without. And you are telling me that I need to sign it physically? I need to be in person to sign it. And it needs to be notarized, so I also need to find a notary. I work a full-time job. What you think I'm doing? You think I'm just chilling at home waiting for you to send me documents you need signed? Bruh. what is happening right now? What is happening right now? So I'm pissed. I'm big mad because I'm like, so let me get this straight. Like this person's or this group of people's incompetence now puts me in a position where I need to be pressured to do something because they waited until the last minute to have it done, even though it's a vital piece of what they need. I'm neglecting to see where that's my problem. I really am trying to see where that's my problem, and I'm neglecting to see where that is my problem. But alas, I'm like, let me see what I can do. So a couple days go by, y'all, when I tell you the amount of things that I did to get a notary and failed at. Like there were people around at work that were notaries, both out. There were places I can get a notary. Either they had just left when I went, or they were like, oh, they're with someone, you need an appointment, which I would have been happy to schedule an appointment if I had advance notice, which I did not. So I'm just like, this is insane. Long story long, as Jen from Jen Joy Plans would say, shout out to her. I was actually watching Jen during this plan with me. I think I actually show it on the screen towards the latter half of this plan with me. So shout out to Jen of Jen Joy Plans. I was watching, I don't remember which plan with me it was, but you guys will see. I think I do show it on here. So definitely go and check her out and follow her. But as she would say, long story long, I end up taking some time from work one of the mornings and going and doing it like locally. Because the thing is, there's a lot of places you can get notaries, but a lot of them work during normal business hours, which of course is unhelpful for those of us who work normal business hours unless we take time off. So I ended up doing that, finally got it done and sent it to them. But I'm like, again, I'm still neglecting to see, like, I was pissed, y'all. I was so pissed that whole week, because basically it started at the beginning of the week all the way to the end. And I was like, whatever, I'm going to get rid of these people, which is exactly what I need. I need them out immediately, because this is the reason why I can't effing stand them, because they do dumb shit like this. And this is just scratching the surface, y'all. Like there's so many shady things that were happening. There's no accountability. There's no consideration for the fact that they live with other people. Like when you live like this in a shared kind of communal space, like there needs to be a certain level of respect and of consideration, which of course I know not everyone has. So that's just scratching the surface on some of the things that I've been dealing with. Like legit just scratching the surface. It's been a time. They finally moved out. So they moved out that weekend after the closing, even though I'm sure they were supposed to move out prior to the closing, but who am I? Again, who am I? They left it just disgusting. It was gross up there. And I know because the new owners, who luckily we exchanged information, because they wanted to meet like the potential neighbors when they were in the buying process, and they like invited me up. They were like, yo, to see like just how much. She was like, yeah, I have my cleaning people coming, because this is not it. I'm like, I'm so sorry, but also so thankful that you're here and not them. So it's been a journey. Let's put it that way. We're definitely making strides towards better things, but I'm still dealing with, now having to manage it, still dealing with some of the incompetence and the negligence purely that they did not take care of. Like I'm still cleaning up some of that mess. So it has been trash, y'all. Just a barrel of trash. But yeah, so that was part of, on top of work already being stressful, then I had this stressor. Then on this Friday, which I think is what I'm planning for right now. Yeah, the Friday I'm planning for right now. So I went in to work and then, had my day, came home as normal, or at least was on my way home, I should say. And then there was an announcement. I take the train to and from work. There was an announcement that they were going to terminate service before finishing all the stops. So like the next stop, basically, they were like, everyone needs to get off. We're terminating service because there are down trees on the tracks. And I'm like, okay, well, down trees on the tracks, you can't go through that, right? You got to clean that up. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't think anything of it. I think a tree just came down, or a few trees came down. I don't know what the case, but there was no other context with that. That was the announcement. So we get to what is the final stop that they're terminating service at. Everybody gets off. And I'm like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to get home, because they're not, like, normally if something like that happens, they'll be like, oh, you can catch the next train, but they're not. They're stopping all of them here. So I'm like, that's weird. Like, how long does it take to clear these trees? Like, how many trees went down? Like, what's happening? Turns out, y'all, there was a storm. Seems like it was a quick hit, but it was strong. I'm assuming it was a thunderstorm, rain. I'm assuming it was strong winds, because when I got off that stop, I noticed, and I didn't notice it right away. Like, I had to move a bit away from the train to actually get an Uber for service and for accessibility and all that stuff. So I was moving away, and as I was walking, I'm like, oh, there's a lot of like sticks on the ground. And then I noticed there's like downed wires on the ground. And then I noticed that there's a massive tree like down from the root on the ground. Like, I'm seeing people like looking at it kind of in disbelief, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, what kind of storm hit this area, and how is it that I didn't know anything about it? So I'm like, okay, so I call this Uber. This Uber takes forever to get to me, probably like 40 minutes to get to me. And he gets there, and he's like, I'm so sorry, you know, it's was hard to get to you, and it was slow moving because there's so many downed lines, there's so many downed trees, and there's tons of road closures. And I was like, wow, like, what? Like, I wasn't around for the storm. Like, were you around? He was like, no, I wasn't around either. I was driving somewhere else. And I'm like, what the hell is happening? And he's like, I had to cancel like 6 rides before you. And I was like, thinking to myself, like, what? I was thinking to myself after I finally got home, which was an adventure, like, what was it that made him come get me and not those other 6 people? Like, God, divine intervention is definitely what I'm thinking, but like, wow. So he came to get me. We drove around, y'all, for probably an hour or two. I do not live that far away from this stop. It was because there were so many road closures. At one point, it was getting dark and we got lost. There was no service, so it's not like we could GPS it, like Google Maps it. Nope. And because of all the downed wires and the downed trees and the road closures, we ended up getting lost. And it wasn't until we finally found a road that he recognized. I didn't recognize any of it. So I was thinking, like, I'm going to end up sleeping in this man's car, like, until we get access to a road that I can get home through. So he found a road that led to the highway, and I was able to get home finally safe and sound. I think I got home at like 9 p.m. So, y'all, it was so scary, and just, yeah, was not my best moment and not my best week, but the spread is gorgeous. At least we have that. I hope you guys enjoyed the story time. I know it was a lot, but I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all real soon. Bye.